I marvel at how many interfaces we put in between us when we have a relationship, or third parties that we invite along for the ride, rather than us just being able to enjoy each other face to face, one-on-one. It has gotten worse. I don't know if it's because of all the new trinketry that we have. No, it's not. It's because of the spiritual condition of people, the lack of closeness to God, that we are now incapable of having conversational dates that are just 100% pure conversation with another human being. Here's what I'm talking about. Everything now is we have to go watch something together. We need some kind of third-party item or some kind of interface between us because we're simply incapable. We're not full of God enough. We're not full of love enough to just talk with each other face to face and enjoy the hours of conversation. So, for example, a guy will invite a girl on a date and they will go to a movie theater where they will sit there in silence, staring at some dumb screen, bombarding their brains with junk. That's a classic example. Another example is going to a sports game where basically the same thing will happen. And again, they are so, especially the guy, I'm preaching primarily to guys because the guys are the ones that aren't close enough to God. When you're really close to God and you're full of the love of God, you are completely 100% in love with one-on-one conversation and close, intimate human interaction on a conversational level. Like you're just a conversational nutcase when you're close to God. You're just like, I could just converse with an individual human being all day and all night long. I could listen to them for hours, I could talk to them for hours, and we are just going to get happy talking to each other. Because words are king. Words are king. Words are the glory of God. And listening is the highest love language. Because words are king, that means listening to someone else's words is the highest love language. Profound. Profound, profound, profound. It's amazing how the simplest things are the best. And so, but what we see in this very godless, culture these days is retarded dates, I call them, where everyone feels the need to pull in some third-party thing as a distraction from the two people actually just sharing each other and sharing, just sharing their life story, asking the art of asking, honest questions, the art of asking delightful questions, the art of leading people in conversation, the art of following someone in conversation, the art of just the pure freedom and blessing of conversation. It's freedom, it's joy, it's moment by moment pleasure. If you go to a video and you're watching a video of the two of you, you have just lost all that moment by moment pleasure. You are just locked in the dark, you're locked to the rails of some brain that's not even unique to you. You're not even expressing yourself. You're not allowing the other person to express themselves. It's dissatisfaction from start to finish. Okay? Remember, the best things in life are always 100% free. Let me say that again until you actually believe it. The best is free. The best is free. That's a great way to decide what not to do on a date. Just don't spend any money. And all the men finally said, hallelujah. I knew there was something going on. Go together to a beautiful place where you can share a drink that hardly costs you anything because you're not there for anything other than the pleasure of conversation with that other human person. Go somewhere that's beautiful, pleasant atmosphere, get a simple low-cost drink, you don't need much, and spend 3 hours at least just conversing and enjoying the art of conversation. She'll have a blast, you'll have a blast, you'll both be so happy and so full of love, you'll be like, and it didn't cost us anything. Because the best is free. Let me say that one more time. The best is free. So how do you choose the best? Well, you deliberately don't pay for tickets for anything. Do not go on a date where you have to buy a ticket for something. That's stupid. You would have more pleasure in one-on-one interaction with each other. You'd be surprised what you can start talking about. You'd be surprised about your own imagination and how pleasurable it is. You could just start talking about Disneyland and sharing memories and just getting ridiculous. And you'll be having a blast. So I'm talking about dumb interfaces and dumb third parties that people, are just, it's like they're barriers to what we all really want, which is prolonged, intimate, one-on-one conversation with another loving human being. So, classic example, taking someone to the ball game for a date, that is retarded. Why don't you have a one-on-one conversation with them for 3 hours? That is highly pleasurable. It's like some kind of entertainment thing. The other thing, of course, is just plain interfaces in general. Just whatever. And, communicating to someone other than in person. Whatever way that is, email, texting, internet, phone, it's an interface in between one-on-one conversation with people. And then finally, just that retarded spirit that just says, oh, we need to be doing something while we're here. We need to be working on something. We need to be ordering a fancy meal that we can talk about just this meal. It's spiritual immaturity. The business world does it like this. Oh, I need to see your resume. They are incapable of having an eye-to-eye personal conversation with you. They say, oh, I need to get a piece of paper in front of us. That's a classic example of a third-party item interfering with humanness. That could basically be the title of this sermon. Third-party mechanisms interfering with humanness. I can give a list of them. Movies, computers, email, text messaging, cell phones, resumes, paperwork about a person's life on the table, rather than you just talking to that person for a long amount of time and enjoying that. Fancy priced meals. It's like, oh, we need to get something between us that will distract us from each other. I know, we'll order a fancy meal and she'll be impressed that I paid for this fancy meal, and we'll talk about this fancy meal, and we won't actually get to share each other, and I won't actually get to know her that much, and she won't actually get to know me that much, because we just are so pathetic at conversation. Title of this message: third-party items that interfere with our conversation pleasure. There's a lot of them today. There's a lot. I mean, Facebook, write that off. That's like the biggest interface there is between living human beings. Never go on online dating. Don't do that. God is not going to ordain your love story to begin with an interface. That's not what's going to happen. Okay. I am preaching truth on the internet, which is useful for broadcast, and people can speed me up, slow me down. Generations from now, this is going to be recorded and sitting on the internet. This can help someone. Okay? This is a good way of doing this. But you want one-on-one. So, when you go on a date with someone, or you're going to spend time with someone, don't have anything between the two of you, is what I'm saying. Don't have any distractions. Don't have any third-party junk. You don't need to go somewhere and do something. You don't need to go mini-golfing. Okay? You don't need to go, I don't know, you don't need to go anywhere and do anything. You don't need to drive somewhere far. You just need to get together and enjoy the blessed art of conversation. And that's the highest pleasure. It's pretty simple dating. It's unbelievable how silly the ideas are regarding dating are now. This is a big mistake men make. This is probably the number one mistake men make. And this is a great truth for men to remember. A woman doesn't care about big, expensive things. Okay? And to most people, in fact, this applies to both sexes, but from what I have heard, I believe it applies equally to both sexes. I'm going to say that right now, but some people would say it's even more dramatic for a woman, that a simple love note, okay, that is real and genuine, means just as much to a woman as a really expensive ticket to go to some show. or some event. In fact, the love note probably actually means far more. In fact, it does, because words are king. Words are king. Entertainment is nothing. It's dead. It's nothing. Okay? So, men are making this big mistake from beginning to end. They think dating needs to be impressive. They think there needs to be a lot of money spent on a date in order for it to be the highest level of pleasure or something. That is not the truth. The truth is, both people, as much as possible, certainly the man, needs to be so full of the love of God and the God nature that he is so full of love that he is simply delighted in conversation with another human being for a long amount of time with no agenda, total joy, and the love of God, and the listening, loving, conversational, delighting in nature of God. You don't have to buy anything. You might just buy a drink between you to keep your lips wet as you converse back and forth for 3 hours. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need a fancy car. You don't need fancy clothes. You don't need anything except the love of God. Do not buy a ticket for some dumb thing. Make conversation with each other. A woman is looking for a man who has a lot inside of him about God. A lot to share, a lot to say. And she's also looking for someone who is massively fascinated by who she is, because she is fascinating. She's infinite. She's a soul that lives forever. She's made in the image of God. She's got a massive family life story. She's got so many stories of her personal life that she's experienced up until now. If you can't find interest in that individual human being for 3 hours just with conversation, then you are a sick person. You are actually what we call a sick person. That is to say, you are not healed in Jesus' name. You are not capable of loving someone for that amount of time, showing interest in them. Okay. So, but it takes two to tango. My brother said this once: you can't really have a sustainable relationship with one healthy person and with one unhealthy person. We all know this. If there's a person that is just completely unhealthy and they just cannot, have a meaningful conversation with you, like they're incapable of doing that, the tennis game won't continue. It can't work. That person needs to spend more time with God. Okay? All right. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Here's the other thing that I would love to see changed in our culture. People take the asking out thing, people take the invitation for a one-on-one conversation time, particularly with the opposite sex, they take it way too seriously. It has been way too ballooned in its seriousness in our culture. Okay? It's like, oh, he wants to go out with me for coffee. Oh man, he must be thinking of marriage. Like, sometimes it seems that's the way women these days are thinking, or they're just so freaked out by reading the newspaper or just having weird ideas in their head about, or they're just incapable of enjoying another human being. You're just like, is anyone asking anyone out anymore on a normal level? Like, I would just like to have a drink with you and let's plan a time so that it's respectful for both of us. Sure, that by definition is a date, but we're just two human beings wanting to delight in getting to know each other. It all stems from this wrong mindset of people living outside the pleasure of the moment. And they are always extrapolating in their minds something in the future. They're always saying, does he want something in the future out of me? Does he want to get married? Is he looking for someone to get married to? Like, people's just, their minds are like berserk. It's unbelievable now. It's like if you ask a woman if she would like to go for a drink sometime, as casually as you can possibly ask the question, she freaks out instantly. He wants to spend time with me one-on-one. This is creepy. That, folks, that is the honest condition of a majority of people in our society today. That is not healthy, and that is not normal. It is not normal. He wants to spend some one-on-one time with me. That's creepy. It is not creepy. It is completely normal. What is creepy is people being freaked out about that. People need to change their whole mindsets regarding one-on-one time with the opposite sex. It's called enjoy the person and get to know them and be friends. Why have we just cut out friendship with the opposite sex? Why have we cut that out? How did that get cut out? Did that get cut out because of the media? You know? I think it just doesn't happen because of godlessness. And when a woman is not full of the truth and she's not full of the love of God, she's not baptized in Jesus Christ, and same thing for a man, but even still, like even in Christian circles, I think it's just as bad. Seriously, it is. It's bad right now. It's really bad. Like, it's just a cultural thing. It's a creepy culture thing where I live, at least, in Langley, British Columbia, Canada, Vancouver. Whether you're both Christian or not, if I, as graciously and as really and as lovingly and as casually as I possibly can, was to ask someone if they want to get together for a drink sometime, it's not nearly as casual and accepted and delightful in the response as it should be. Like, there is just crazy apprehension. It's like, you know, people are incapable of one-on-one time. Just as friends. And it's like everyone starts evaluating. It's like, oh man, look at them. You know, are they getting together? Then there's the whole gossip chain. It's like, I think there's gossip, spirit of gossip in this culture. It's like, oh man, are they getting together? It's like then like all the girls' friends, I think the girl is freaked out about her own friends more than anything. What will they think? It's like gossip is just like the new in. It's like, oh, she's having a drink with that guy over there. Who's he? You know, let's gossip about this. Are they like, you know, gonna like get together? Like, get a life, people. Like, seriously. Open up to love before you die. Set yourself free to just have a conversation with another human being before you die. Learn to enjoy conversation. Learn to say yes to someone that wants to spend one time with you before you die. It's just a terrible mentality right now. If I was a pastor in a church and I had a sufficient audience of people that were capable of listening to me and somehow respected my platform, I would encourage young single people to have one-on-one conversations with members of the opposite sex in total enjoyment, as friends. I would say to all the guys in the conversation, in the congregation, I would say it this way: You can ask any girl in here if she would like to spend some one-on-one time just going for a drink somewhere. And ladies in the room, oh my God. You know, why are women so fearful? There's a lot of blame to be placed on women because the fears are just blown out of proportion. I'm like, you're going to meet the guy in a public place. Like, it's like, what do you honestly think could happen? Like, it's just unbelievable the fears people have. And then the gossip chain. And the girl's like, oh, so-and-so is spending time with so-and-so. Oh, let's gossip or something. What are they doing? Get a life. So, in general, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to see people enjoy each other at a friendship level far more and far more easily, and just be way more human, be way more relational, be way more honest, be way more open, be way more just friendship-like, and just seriously, don't make a big deal out of it. Because it's not a big deal at all. But people need to understand that love is life. Like, if I had received all these revelations and the fact that God is love and seen the mathematical proof of it at the very beginning of my life, it's like, and I was modeled it through parents and, you know, parents that did it with each other and parents that did it with us kids, and, you know, if I saw it modeled and I, you know, grew up in that environment and everyone did the same and had the same thing taught to them, it just would be a lot different. I'm just telling you, it would be a lot different. People would go out a lot more. People would be more friendly. People would be a lot less fearful. People would simply enjoy conversation more. There wouldn't be weird thinking. There wouldn't be weird gossiping. And so I'd like to see more people just set free to love each other more and be less apprehensive about spending time with someone. Be willing to share yourself. Be willing to admit you don't have it all together. Be willing to admit you don't know certain things. Turn off the TV. Stop watching fake people. They are incapable of being open half the time. Okay? Learn to enjoy people. And just be open. If someone asks you, you probably should say yes. If someone asks you, you know, you probably should say yes. And just enjoy it. And learn something about God through spending time with that person. If you live a God-centered mindset, if your life is God-centered, if your mind is always God-centered, and you always start by looking at people as people that God created, whenever you're with someone, you're always thinking, God created this person. Who are they really? When they are conformed, you know, when they are filled with the Holy Ghost, what aspect of God's glory do I particularly see in this person? And I will appreciate that right now as I'm spending time with them. And everyone should be encouraged to do the same. And then you have what is called a love-filled, conversation-rich, friends high-fiving, strangers willing to get together with each other society. It's called love, people. But I have a passion for one-on-one relationships, you know, and where people are deep enough and comfortable enough and enjoy conversation enough to just be able to just sit with another human being, particularly the opposite sex, and not think weird things. Why is everyone, have we been brainwashed by media? Have we been brainwashed by certain things? Why is it that everyone in their, you know, in dating with the opposite sex, they're only thinking of someone that they're going to marry? I guess that's ultimately where it ends up. People are looking for that one person that they're going to marry. I guess it does kind of make sense that you wouldn't technically, you know, spend time with someone that you honestly know you would never marry because you don't want them to start thinking that maybe you would want to marry them, and then their heart gets broken for some reason. So I guess that does kind of make sense. I guess it does kind of make sense. But I still think people should enjoy conversation a lot more, just for the enjoyment thereof, rather than always extrapolating to like marriage. I'm like, or whatever else it is they extrapolate to. I'm just like, oh, please people. Summary, please, everyone, enjoy the art of conversation a lot more and nothing more. And don't make a big deal out of anything else other than that. If someone asks you for a slot of time where they can spend some one-on-one conversation time with you, and you're a nice person and they're a nice person, you probably should say yes. And just plain enjoy the conversation. And that's my preaching on conversation and people just talking more and enjoying the pleasure of conversation more and engaging another human being and sticking with them and going deep and being willing to open up rather than disconnecting and zoning out or flipping on the phone. Like, are you incapable of appreciating another human being? Are you incapable of asking me questions about my life? Am I like, folks, people have so many stories to tell. They have so many interesting things to say. Just get together and talk. Just start loving conversation with people one-on-one. Please, the whole world.